All right, so today we're taking a stroll down to bioinformatics. Wow, it's everywhere. It's in everyone's face. Bioinformatics here, bioinformatics there, and all that. And some people are just trying to get a hang of it. And like, what exactly is bioinformatics all about? Is it something I can go into? Is it something I would enjoy? I don't like coding. Would I fit in well? I just know about the biological part of it and all that. And yeah, we have someone wonderful speaker here with us who's going to break everything down for us. And yes, I'm sure by the end of today's meeting, we're going to have a better understanding about this field, this novel field that seems to have a lot of application. Yes. So our host still remains Faith Adaja, who will be walking us through with our speaker. And just sit back, enjoy. Welcome to iGen's webinar again. Thank you. Faith, over to you.
Hi, Tommy. Good. I think it's morning over there with about evening. Good evening.
Sure.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. As a CBG student myself, bioinformatics is something I've been hearing from year one. You know, the word, oh, you can go into bioinformatics or some as a field of interest. So, first of all, before we dive into the conversation of bioinformatics, I want you to tell us who you are, who is Tommy Jacobs, and how did she, how is she now studying what you're studying? How have you gotten here? I just want you to give us like the rundown of who you are and how you've gotten here.
Okay. Thank you. So I'm Tommy Jacobs, and let me start by saying I'm Nigerian. I'm from Kwara State. I completed my bachelor's in plant biology from the University of Ilorin. And during that time, or during my undergrad year, I realized that I was interested in plant genetics, right? So plant biology, there were different aspects to it. Plant genetics, plant physiology, plant ecology, I'm like plant. But I got interested in plant genetics, and with that, I wanted to learn much more about what studying the genetics can, you know, how it can help my understanding of several things. And that was when I decided I wanted to go for my master's program. So I came to the United States for my master's program at Delaware State University. And after 1 year there, I was working with big data. We were not sure on how to analyze the data because it was so large. It was RNA-seq data. And during that time, I applied for a fellowship and I was picked. We were 8 of us that I picked in the United States, and we went to Cornell. So I completed my master's at Cornell University, and that was where I really, really learned how to code, how to analyze big data. And I loved the field, and I just wanted to like seal the deal completely. Then I started my PhD program at the University of Illinois Chicago, now basically in computational biology. And yeah, that's why I am, and that's what I do right now.
Wow, that's quite interesting. I mean, there are many of us here who are life science students from botany, CBG, from different departments. Yeah, some of us here one and ranging to finals. Yeah, so I want you to explain to if you're speaking to a layman or someone who is not into life science, how would you explain what bioinformatics is all about? Yeah, so I'd like you to do that.
Okay, that's a good question. Now, thank God you said I should say it like, how I'm going to explain it to a layman, because either you're a layman or you're a scientist, I explain it the same way. Very simple. Bioinformatics is using computational methods to analyze big biological data for inference and to answer major scientific questions. That is what bioinformatics is. It's as simple as that.
So using computational methods to to answer scientific questions, yeah,
Yes, from large biological data.
from large biological data. Okay, great. I want you to, in further detail, talk about what bioinformatics is all about. Do I have to learn how to code first, or how, as a life science student, how do I navigate moving into bioinformatics, if that's my place of interest, or if that's my field of interest? I don't know if you get my question.
Yeah, so I think it's two questions in one. What bioinformatics is all about, and if I
Hmm.
want to do bioinformatics, what are the things I need to learn how to do? Do I need to learn how to code, right? Two questions.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, you know, okay, let me start from maybe the beginning. So bioinformatics started from the early 1960s, and that was part of the time when, let me be sure about the date I'm giving you, if it's the 1960s. Yeah. Okay. So DNA was actually found in the 1950s, right? And when that was found, the idea of wanting to learn about the DNA in the early 60s was really where bioinformatics started out as a field, right? And that was where, trying to learn about sequence alignment, blah, 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 stuff like that. They started to develop basic algorithms. That was several years ago, right? Decided to develop these basic algorithms to understand, to know how it is. And then fast forward to the late 90s. That was when the Human Genome Project started. I don't know if you guys are aware of the Human Genome Project. That was when they decided to sequence the entire genome of the human being. And that was a success, but it was very expensive. They did that with hundreds of thousands of dollars then. But that's opened up the mind of scientists all over the world to see that, you can not just understand like maybe just the DNA, right, of a plant or of a mosquito of a human being. You can now understand the entire genetic makeup of an individual, like from A to Z. Like, okay, so let's say a human being like me right now. You can know what is coding for my eye color, what is coding for my hair, what is coding for the shape of my leaves, what is coding for my complexion from head to toe. And you can know that for any plant right now, any insect, as long as that thing has a life, you can know the entire makeup of that thing right now. So that was that human project. I can see the comment. Thank you for that comment. That human genome project made us realize like, oh, okay, we can know the entire genome of any living thing. That was when, I think that was when bioinformatics really blew up in the 90s. So that was when complex computational methods started to come in place. Most of the time, computer science, the folks that code, they're the ones, maybe you want to create a game, you want to create a software, blah, blah, blah. That was really what coding was used for. Now we realize that we could use these programming languages to now understand this large data, right? Because it's a whole genome right now. It's not just a single DNA, and it's the entire genome of a whole. So imagine how large that data will be, right? And now you have this kind of large data. What do you want to do with it, right? Like you can have a bunch of data and it's not telling you anything. So okay, now that, like I said, now we can know the gene that codes for my eye color, blah blah blah. And now when it comes to, you know solving what problems, like diseases, like, what is making, okay, or let's say a plant is being infected by this particular fungus or this particular bacteria. We want to know, when this bacteria infects the plant, we want to know the part of the genome that it's affecting, and how we can, when we sequence this genome, what and what can we do? What gene can we edit? What can we do to make this plant fight back these diseases? So that's where it all starts from. And Now you can go into AI, you can go into machine learning. I'm sure we are still going to get into all that. But honestly, when you think about bioinformatics, just, because the theme of today is also the past, the present, and the future. So when you have that, in mind, that kind of encapsulates all what bioinformatics is. Now, the second question: do I need to learn how to code? You know, when it comes to coding, I feel like everyone should learn how to code. It helps you think. It helps you, it's like, so we are life science students, so we have probably not done this high level mathematics. These people that do PhD in mathematics, people that do PhD in quantum mechanics, stuff like that. Those mathematics, you see them do all these algorithms and models that you see them write on 10 boards, blah blah blah. You can do all of that algorithms and computation. You can do it in few lines of code, right? So coding makes life easy. Now, I would not say it's difficult to learn, because your perception about things affect how you see them. So I don't like to tell anyone that coding is hard. It takes time to learn, but it's just like mathematics. When you learn your basic times table, like, oh, 2 times 2 is 4, and then that same concept of 2 times 2 equals 4 is the same concept you're going to use for 12 times 12. So it's like that. Once you learn, you can go on and on. But for mathematics, should you learn how to code? I would say I feel like, we are probably getting to stages when, with AI, maybe people might not learn how to code anymore. But I feel like right now it's still very important to learn how to code. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was a very interesting response. Yeah, I mean everybody here now has something to go and work on. We have to learn how to code if that's our area of interest. Yeah, but
Yes.
there was something that like came into my mind as you were speaking, right?
Yeah.
So, does bioinformatics have branches? Because when I was reading, or I was just reading about the bioinformatics as a field of study, I saw that there are a few applications of bioinformatics. We have gene therapy, evolutionary studies, microbial applications, and some of these things. So I wanted to ask: are there branches even under this bioinformatics? Are there like places we can niche down? I don't know if you get what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Yes, so that's my question.
That's a very good question, because there are so many branches, so many. And thank God you mentioned. So I feel like I deal in two branches of bioinformatics right now, and one of them is the evolutionary studies. So in my lab, what we do is we try to understand the evolutionary journey of plants. Now, so if you look at, so I mean, I don't know if I really want to go into evolutionary studies, because I feel like it's a very uh, what's the word? The English word is not coming to my head right now. When something has a lot of controversies, yeah, I feel like evolutionary studies has a lot of controversies, because not everyone believes in evolution. But when you check the makeup of a plant, from 300 years ago, it's not the same genetic component of that same plant right now, because plant breeding has occurred, time has passed, and even the earth is changing from climate change that you all know. And all of our makeups, every single living thing on earth is adapting to the change that the earth is going through. So you have evolution, and we have seen this. We have seen sequences of data of genomes, and we have seen these same plants like change genomes. So it can happen because of, you know, adverse droughts. A plant would express different kinds of genes to survive a particular moment of drought, and that can actually affect the genetic makeup. So when you do bioinformatics, through an evolutionary lens, or what we call phylogenetics, you tend to understand what is changing the genetic makeup of living things, or living cells, or living tissues. So I do that, and I would say the second part of what I do will be the software development part. So part of what I do again is to develop softwares. I'm still starting, to be honest, but right now I'm also working on building a bioinformatic pipeline. I don't know if you know about that, but these are just computational methods. So okay, I feel like when I say computational methods, that's like a big word, because we have several methods, and one of them is a bioinformatic pipeline. So bioinformatic pipeline is an automated system. When you write a line of code, let's say you write 150 lines of code. When you run that code, probably with a particular fast A file, it gives you, a certain results. But that cannot do, let's say you want to answer 5 scientific questions. You can't answer that with 150 lines of code. So you're going to get, this 150 lines of code, it does this. This 200 lines of code, it does this. When you then put them together, so it's now going to run in an automated pattern. That is, when it gets the result from this first 150 lines of code, it automatically gives that result to the next 200 lines. It does it for you automatically. Comes here, and then you go through an array of that, and you get a really fine results. And that takes a lot of work. That takes a lot of time. But yeah, it's generally called methods development. So I've talked about two right now: the phylogenetics, we have methods development. So I do those two. Now you talked about gene therapy. I'm not really in the my research does not really do the medical side of things, even though after my PhD right now, I could work in an hospital. Like, I can work anywhere, because every living thing has genome. So if you worked on plants, or you worked on enzymes like you guys, or you worked on cells, when you're done, you can work anywhere. Okay, so gene therapy, there's gene editing, there is forensics. If you watch crime shows, you can see maybe they go to a crime scene, and the FBI goes there, and they collect, they do, what's this thing called, I'm coming, the fingerprinting. They lift
Finger.
up fingerprints. Yeah, that's like basic right now, right? But they try to get DNA, and you can get it from anything as small as a saliva, a strand of hair from, and your genetic makeup, it's only one in the entire world. Even if you guys are twins, you're not going to have the same genetic makeup as your twin. So when they get a DNA from a crime scene, you can't fake it. Like, that's how they catch criminals these days. You are the one. How did your DNA get here? You are the one. So that's forensics. There's just so many. Come to think of it, like, um I had a class last semester. Sorry, I'm taking time on this question. I had a class last semester, and we were asked to give a presentation on the use of our research in a field that is completely different from our scope. Now, I do bioinformatics, and I felt, okay, what do I want to do that is completely outside of my scope? And I checked how bioinformatics is related to materials engineering, and that is like in the production of materials from waste. And it's so crazy that I actually found a paper that use phylogenetics and bioinformatics to study the betterment of the production of materials. Can you imagine that? So, when you check, maybe when you ask Google, or you ask in, any search box you use, it's going to give you, like, let's say 10 fields of bioinformatics. Well, trust me when I tell you, I feel like it's endless. As long as you can program that thing, as long as you can code it in a computer, bioinformatics can probably, be used in that field. So yeah, that's my answer to the question.
Thank you so much. I think that it has brought light to, personally for me, I know there'll be a bit of a Q&A at the end of this session and everybody will get to ask their questions, but it has brought light for me because when I was just searching about it on Google and getting to learn about it, I thought it was like a very straightforward thing. And if I had other interests, for example, you were talking about the production of materials from waste. Interestingly, this was the conversation my classmates and I were having, our lecturer, this past week. And, we're like, because waste is one of, I guess, the
Nice.
problems we deal in Nigeria. It's a problem that Nigeria doesn't know how to like recycle waste, and so we have many dump sites across the nation. And so we are just having a conversation with our lecturer. How can we, you know, make or convert these waste back into fabric? That way, increasing sustainability as it is. But yeah, this is quite interesting. I also want you to talk about tools. So I want to paint the perspective of a university undergraduate here. I interested in bioinformatics, maybe evolutionary study or gene therapy, maybe one of those branches. From where I am, what are like practicable steps and tools I can begin to learn and move forward in this direction?
So that's a good question. As an undergrad, you're quite busy with taking a couple of courses. You have assignments, you have deadlines, you have all of those things, and it could take all of your time that if you want to learn something that you want to probably further in, it might feel daunting. You're like, oh, I do not have time to even learn this extra thing. But if you're very dedicated to it and you're able to squeeze time out, make time to learn, you can start with Python. Now, R is very good with statistical analysis. Like, it's great. But I feel like Python has it has just made a name for itself when it comes to flexibility, and I think it's probably easier to use for more people. Let's say, let me give you an example. You find 20 bioinformaticians, 20 of them. I would say at least 12 of every 20 bioinformaticians you meet use Python, like majorly. You have people that use R, of course. You have people that use Perl, that use C++. And now it also depends on the kind of things you eventually be doing. Like, we have a guy in our lab that uses C++, and he's crazy at it. Like, he's really good. Because programming is about zeros and ones at the end of the day. Like, that's what is happening at the back of the machine, back to your like basic binary. And the closer you are to zeros and ones, the stronger the programming language. So C++ is very difficult to use, though. I do not even know how to use C++. But yeah, I started learning with R. I learned R for a long while. Like, I used it for almost 2 years. And I can still use R right now. But it's like majorly Python. So you want to learn languages, I'll ask you to start with Python. And a major, major, major thing to learn again is how to use the Linux environment. So if you use a MacBook, that will be that you're working from terminal. And if you use Windows, I think that will be, I've not used Windows for Linux before, but yeah, it's just called Linux environment or Ubuntu. Yeah, so you should learn how to use Python and learn how to work in the Linux environment. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. We've talked about, the past, which is, the history, when bioinformatics actually took off. I want you to talk about the present now. I mean, we are seeing you, who is a informatic, you are studying that, and that's your field of expertise. I want to talk about like the present opportunities, and because this is something even as a life science student we've been hearing all about equality, and talk about the
Right.
opportunities in practicability, because you can just say, oh, like it can just be like, oh, this is an opportunity or this is a field of interest, but like the practicability of this opportunity, which is bioinformatics. I don't know if you understand what I'm asking.
Yeah. So I think you're asking me to talk about the opportunities in bioinformatics right now, like present, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah. So, like I said, it's a very wide field, and its practicability is limitless. It has no limit. So also, I feel like I don't know. I don't want to give answers that are just like over here. But funny enough, I do not have experience of mathematics like in Nigeria. But I know, for the Nigerian or African space, it would be, you know, opportunities in the medical field. I would say, that's like the major thing that, Nigeria will probably be focusing on right now. That would be the medical space. I'm sure in hospitals right now they're having um a lot of patients. So there's a field of bioinformatics also called personalized medicine, and that is when focus on probably a set of individuals, maybe age group, maybe you know genetic history, and you have a lot of data, right? So as a bioinformatician, if you're able to fill in that gap to analyze those data and give them informed answers in the medical space, that would be great. That would be fantastic. Like we also mentioned about the waste one that you said. So the that project I was telling you about was a lot of plant waste, and they could know the quality of these products from these plants based on the genetics of the plants, right? And they use that to inform the process that they were going to use to process these fibers to produce, so many materials. So I don't know if there's a space for that in Nigeria right now, but if that is, if there's a space for that, that would be a fantastic place to work also. And if any of you are looking forward to, probably coming to, live in Nigeria now, that's a much more bigger space of opportunity, and that's just the reality. You can probably work, in anywhere. I feel like it's, you can work for the forces, no matter the force, as long as it's, police, the army, whatever. You could work with, you could work in a research institute also in Nigeria. That's anywhere. You can work in a research institute. You can work in an educational establishment like a university, a research assistant, a research fellow. It's you can work anywhere, to be honest. Just think of that place, and you can probably work there as a bioinformatician.
All right. Thank you very much for that response. It's just something I saw again when I was, searching about bioinformatics, and I saw something like I wanted to shed more light on it. It was, I think many of us here have
Okay.
heard of data analysis, data
Mm,
science, and I saw that
yeah.
bioinformatics is somewhat similar. I wanted to like share light on that if that is if that is what bioinformatics is, as data analysis is something that most of us are, similar, I'll be familiar with. I mean, yeah. So I just wanted to shed more light on that in that aspect.
Yeah, that's a good question. So yes, data analysis is a major part of bioinformatics for sure, for sure. You know, um, I think if you search on Google, I don't know if that's the image that comes up right now on Google or Wikipedia anymore, but you are going to see three circles. So I think the first circle is biology, the second circle is mathematics,
Yes.
and the third circle is computer science. And you see the circle in between the three of them, and it's called bioinformatics, right? So if you can learn,
Yeah.
I mean, if you already know how to analyze large data, trust me, you are one step ahead already. And now it depends on, I want to mention this. Thank, thank God I remembered. Now, analyzing data on Excel is not data analysis. I'm sorry, with all due respect. For because a lot of people use Excel sheets. Excel is a spreadsheet. That's what it is. It's a spreadsheet. Like if you work in um even if you are a secretary, like you work in an accounting firm, you are going to use Excel. So that's what it is, a spreadsheet. That is not, it has nothing to do with analyzing data. I mean, some people could probably, if you impute what's it called, you impute numbers into Excel and you use it to draw a graph, use it to draw like a line or something. That's not analysis. So if you want to, really, if you're really analyzing data, you are using R. Let me tell you. Like if I want to know, like, you're analyzing data, then you're probably using R, because R, that's what R is for, like, majorly. R is a strong, strong, strong statistical programming language. When it comes to, I took a class last semester, and the title of the class is biostatistics or data science. And what we used from the start of that class till the end was R. I wish I had thought about this. I would have shared the screen. I would have shared my screen to show you, like, the results. Let me see if I can do that. Okay.
Can
Yes.
everyone
So
see?
this is what I want to show you guys. So
Okay.
yeah, can everyone see it? Is that a
And please
yes?
indicate in the income. I'm trying to get some sort of
Okay,
response.
okay,
If you
okay,
can
okay.
see
I
it,
see it.
okay, yes.
Thank you.
I think
Yeah, I can see people's responses. So can I carry on?
yes, please. Yes, please. You can carry on.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I'm just going to give you guys a very brief overview. So this was a very simple, trust me when I tell you simple, this is nothing complex in any way whatsoever. This is something very simple. It was just a class project to round up the semester. And this was my own project. We had people that gave presentations about Taylor Swift. So we had some people that, like, their presentation was how, if there was a correlation between people's mood change when they listen to a song by Taylor Swift or not. There were people that checked race, if there's a correlation between race and health, and women's health. There were so many, but I just stuck with plants. So right, I work with ice plants, and they're endemic to Africa. So they're endemic to South Africa and Namibia. And I just gave the whole class, a presentation about, what I really do And this is what I do, honestly. I get RNA from my plants of interest. They go through next generation sequencing. I have these FASTA files. Now I use a particular software called Busco. Now, after I do this, I'm able to get the complete gene sets. I'm able to get the ones that are duplicated. I'm able to get the ones that are fragmented and the ones that are missing. So I gave them, I talked much more about it during the presentation. And then I went to my question. So my null hypothesis for my study is that there will be no significant difference in the genome completeness across 30 species of ice plants. And this will imply that all species have the same level of genetic sequences and they are independent of evolutionary processes. So that's my null hypothesis. I'm sure you guys know about null hypothesis, right? So for correlation, that's for correlation with completeness analysis of the genome. Now, the next one is for correlation with environmental factors. And my null hypothesis for this is that there will be no relationship between the genomic completeness of my plants and environmental variables, that is their location, which is South Africa. And these were my results. This is just like a bit, and I did all of this in R. This is simple, 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 simple. I have to tell you guys that this is like really simple. This was just for a class. This is not even like a project or anything. This was just for my class. So I used an Instagram function in R to just show what my scores look like across all of them. And this is like a major one. So across all 30 of them, I checked for the distribution of complete Busco percentages. And you can see this already goes against my null hypothesis, right? Because my null hypothesis is that all of them are going to be the same, like irrespective of the species. So that means if they were all the same, let's take this one for example. Let's say this is like 68% of a complete genome. So that means it's going to be like everything is going to be the same. But you can see no two species are the same. Like no two species are the same when it comes to the completeness of their genome. And yeah, so this goes against the first null hypothesis. I also used box plots to just check range all through, because I checked in Namibia, South Africa, and the United States, and you can see they are all different also. And then I went to ANOVA, basic ANOVA, we checked, and this was not significant. So this is the second question of correlation between the completeness and the geographical location. And I used Turkey, and also all of the p-values not significant. I did a chi-squared test. It was also not significant. Then I did a principal component analysis. I'm sure you guys should know. I mean, don't, don't feel bad if you don't know about PCA, but PCA is principal component analysis. It's very, very, very common when it comes to statistical analysis. So this is where you can find, like, how am I going to put it? So let's take a look at, let me look for a simple example I can use to explain this. Let's say you want to do a principal component analysis of race. Just let me make that as simple, race. So let's say this red one would be, United States. Okay, let's keep the green one as United States. Let's keep the blue as South Africa, or let's make blue Africa, and let's make red Asia. Now, you now say you want to do a principal component analysis of races where you want to see where people that identify as white and people that identify as black and people that identify as Asians, you want to know where they will be. So what you're going to have is a very thick coagulation of green folks, which will be white people in the United States. You're going to have them maybe somewhere here. You're going to have black people who are Africans. You're going to have them all blue together, and you're going to have Namibia. I mean, I said Namibia. Asia, which will be Asians. You're going to have them much more in Asia, definitely, and you're going to have like a very close coagulation of this red one. So they are going to like be together, right? But right now, what this PCA is telling you is that there is no close relationship between the completeness of the genome of these plants and their geographical location. Does that make sense? So that means no matter how complete or incomplete, or you have duplicated genes or you have missing genes, wherever they are not tied to their location. You can have a complete genome, you can have blah blah blah, like they are just scattered around. So my null hypothesis for this question was correct, because I said there is no, if you remember, I said that there is no relationship between genomic completeness and environmental variables. So my conclusions, null hypothesis rejected for the first one because they were all different. And that was my null hypothesis. But for the second one, I choose not to reject because it holds no significant correlation between, I mean, the genomic completeness and geographical location. That's it, guys. So I guess I can stop sharing now, stop presenting. Good? Oh, yeah.
It's sorry, just to say a few things. It's actually amazing how you can use various and types of softwares and all that to analyze and get your results to look different, and then to be presented in different ways. I think that's
Exactly.
one thing bioinformatics and statistics or analysis is really good at doing. Okay, just to go through some questions. I can see someone sent a message earlier. Um,
Okay.
Anifa says, okay, to get into bioinformatics, what is the roadmap? What is the roadmap? Okay, I think that's what is the roadmap?
Okay.
You
Okay.
suggest I follow it. I follow to go into data science or learning coding first, because personally, she loves data. That's what she says there. What roadmap would you suggest?
What's roadmap? So, I mean, is funny enough, I don't think there's any um constant roadmap to anything. You know, you can just it works differently for people. For example, you know, I find a lot of bioinformaticians, don't let me say a lot of, but a number of them maybe studied, what, like what you guys are studying right now. I think is cell. What do people do at Unilag? Cell what?
Biology and genetics.
Good, cell biology and genetics. For example, I studied plant biology. You can have someone that probably studied, there was a guy that also does bioinformatics right now. And I think what he did for his PhD was studying the venom of snakes. It was in the US here. You'll probably not find somebody working on that in Nigeria. But yeah, he used to catch a lot of snakes, collect their venoms and, do stuff with it. And today, he's not even like PhD. That was what he did for his PhD. But today, he works in a company as a bioinformatician. So I feel like what you just need to learn how to do is know how to analyze data. You don't just analyze data, like, because I feel like even if you get a bunch of numbers and you do simple addition and multiplication, that's a form of analysis. If you don't know, it's simple. That's why I was saying that using Excel is not analysis. Does that make sense? So if you're already doing data science, do you know how to, if you have a data like this, can you say, from this data, I want to ask a question? You can see the presentation I gave. Like, I had the question at the beginning that, oh, I feel like there would be no difference between genomic. I mean, I knew there would be difference. I knew there would be differences, but I was not sure about the second question. I really wanted to know if there was correlation between completeness and geographical location, because you have several weather conditions in Africa, majorly like it's hot, and some of the samples I'm working on they are from the UK right now, and I'm working on them in the US. So I really wanted to know the differences, and we could see that there was no difference. So when you have data with you, can you get a question, or can your boss or your professor, can they give you a question that, I want to answer this scientific question, go and answer it from this data? That way you are the one that will determine the kind of analysis you do. You are the one that will determine the kind of programming languages you're going to use. You are the one that will determine the softwares you are going to use. That will be all you. So I think that's really the roadmap, how to, answer or get an inference, answer a scientific question from data, using the link between your data and your answer. That link, figuring out that link. I think that's what bioinformatics is about. And so I think that's the roadmap. And what is the roadmap? What does that roadmap entails? Knowing how to, work with our algorithms, knowing how to work with softwares, knowing how to work with programming languages. That's the roadmap, guys. But thank you for the question. That's a good question.
Thank you for that. Thank you for the answer. Thank you for the response. I don't know if anyone else has a question. So we want to go into talking about the future of bioinformatics for for we undergrads, the upcoming scientists, and the scientists that are coming up. What My question is, what emerging trends or technologies do you believe will shape the future of bioinformatics over the next decade?
That's a good question. And my first answer is AI. AI is sweeping everybody off their feet right now. It's crazy. Artificial intelligence. So, I love to watch documentaries, and I've been watching a number of them. And yeah, so I feel like, a lot of people ask that, do I think AI is going to take bioinformatic jobs away from people? And what I say is no. And why I ask that is that, even though these computers, they are, I feel like computers will definitely get smarter than human beings. That's the truth. Now, while the brain we all have is incredible, our brains are incredible, because come to think of it, it's somebody with a brain that created Python as a language. It's somebody with a brain that created computers, right? It's human beings that created these things, human brains. But computers have this vast, they have this vast capability to stand on their own. When you write a model, it can work on its own until you probably come with a change or something, or you ask it to stop. It can keep working, right? So I feel like computers would get to that stage where they are probably ahead of human beings, but still, you need a human being that knows how to use these models, right? You still need that person that can, or else, like, the machines are just going to be doing what they're doing. So, yes, one of the major things that will shape the future of mathematics is definitely AI. It would, a lot of things will get easier. That's what I think. This will be different from, the answers to this question will differ from everybody. I have colleagues that really hate AI. Like, I have colleagues that they can't even stand it. They feel like, it's, they feel like it's, I don't know. I don't even know what to say. But a lot of people do not like AI. And yeah, just like the person that just dropped a comment right now, that's exactly what I think about it also. Like, it would never replace. I mean, they can't replace. If you are scared that AI is going to replace you, then you probably don't know what you bring to the table in any organization that you find yourself, right? If you need you are still the controller, you are still the driver of the vehicle, you are still the one that tells these algorithms what to do, you are still the one that tells these languages what to do, right? But definitely AI is, because we have we have a lot of personalized medicine right now. I have there's someone in my school working on, I think it would be like a very small robot that would tell you what's wrong with your body at any point in time. It's going to like talk to you, it's going to take your pulse, it's going to take everything. So these normal checkups that you go to do in the hospitals will probably get reduced right now, because you can get diagnosed at home, then you now go to the hospital to get treated. Does that make sense? So yes, AI is definitely going to change the shape and face of bioinformatics in the future. Yeah, that's my answer. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. This uh, has really been a lovely session for me. Especially, it has opened my eyes. I have seen again in another, I would say, dimension, because I personally am interested in waste and sustainability in fashion, and how
That's
that
great.
can also interplay with science. So this is more things to think and search about. Lastly, before I hand over to Davis, there's a question I have, and it's about ethics. Right? What ethical considerations arise from the use of bioinformatics? Like, are there any ethical debates or things like that? I mean, you just made mention of AI and how some of your colleagues don't agree or don't really like the use of AI. I would like you to
Yeah,
shed more light.
that's a fantastic question. Now, let me tell you guys, do you guys know about, what are they even called? I'm coming. I want to give you the right thing. Do you guys know about 23 and Me? Have you ever heard of 23 and Me? That's the name of the company. So it's a company where you are going to just send them a sample from your body, maybe like yeah, maybe like maybe your saliva or something, anything from you. And you are going to send it to them, and they are going to tell you your ancestry. They are going to tell you your, maybe 1% Neanderthal,
Yeah.
or yeah, 23% African, 15% European, that kind of thing. Now, a lot of ethical challenges have been coming up with that, because people are like, oh, I don't want you to have my DNA. Because honestly, if someone has your DNA, I feel like there's no limit to probably what that person can use the DNA for. Because that's your, I don't know, that's your information. Just think of, maybe, oh, let's say you don't want someone to know your, I don't know, maybe you have a partner or something, or you have or maybe your family, 'cause some people are quite private, just know me, you don't need to know who my father is, my mother is, and all my siblings don't need to know that, something like that. you know those are basic. If someone has your DNA, they have everything about you. They have your fertility information, they have your just think of it. So I think one of the ones I've been seeing right now is fertility information for women. There's an app called Flow, that's FLO, that can track
The
your
flow.
menstrual cycle, your periods, and all like that. Yeah. So these are people that also have, like, in your information, and they use bioinformatics to, they kind of know, oh, these certain women, just like I said, doing all of this correlation with races, blah, blah, blah. So people are starting to realize that, you know what, people having this amount of information about us, it's maybe not the best. So I think that's, even when I was, because when I wanted to come for this meeting, I also just did a bit of reading. It was maybe like 5 minutes, and I saw it like, oh, this is like ethical challenges are starting to come up. And I don't know, I think ethical challenges are everywhere, even with the phones we use, you know our locations, blah blah blah. But I think it's still nothing compared to your DNA, right? And yeah, I think that's just what I'm going to say. Ethical issues, personalized medicine, hospitals using genetic information of people to, have maybe targeted marketing, a lot of targeted things. I think one of the ethical issues would firstly arise from personalized medicine. But we'll see how it goes. We'll see. But yeah, that's a great question.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So I'll be handing over to David. This has been a very interesting conversation. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your time.
Sure.
Yes.
So
Over
you're
to
welcome.
David.
I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, all right. Welcome back. Thank you so much, Faith. Good one, good one. So just before we go, I don't think I have any question from my end. So I just want to ask, we've spoken about bioinformatics, past, present, future, and everything. How was it like for you transitioning from Nigeria to the US? How was I know there were some things that you had to like skills you had to learn, some things that just had to put you in the spotlight to be a better candidate for selection for your PhD or
Mhm.
your masters and all that. How was it for you? Like the whole process? Yes. I know
Right.
some people there would want to know and stuff like that. Yeah. So
Okay. That's a good question. When I finished my undergrad, I went for NYSC. And during my NYSC, I just really, I started to, okay, let me not jump the gun. During my NYSC, after my NYSC, I go back home and I wanted to learn more. It started from learning. It started from just wanting to know much more, understand the things my field. And I told you that I was already interested in um plant genetics, right? So I really wanted to learn about genetics. And I started to take online classes. I started from Coursera. Now, if you want to get a certificate from Coursera, you need to pay for it. And I didn't have the money to pay for it that time. So I applied for financial aid on Coursera. That's something you can do. Try to Google and read about it. You can talk about your situation in Nigeria, like, oh, you're from Nigeria, which is, everybody knows Nigeria is, I don't want to go into details, but you're just going to say, yeah, you do not have much money right now because of the country you're in. You probably do not have a job, or you're probably a student and you want to learn much more from this course and you want to have the certificate because you probably want to use it for an application, blah, blah, blah. You can do, I mean, you don't have to be hypocritical about it. You need to be sincere in the essay. You can write that. And Coursera is actually going to give you the financial aid, right? And you're going to be able to get a certificate for free instead of paying, I think, 35 or $50, depending on the course. So I started to take classes about, you know, genetics, blah, 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 from these universities. And because I got so interested, I went back to University of Ilorin, and I'm going to send you the link to my LinkedIn. So I went back to my alma mater, to the professor that um, supervised my final year project. I went back to him, and during my 400 level, I remember when I submitted the abstract to the project I was thinking about, he was so wild. He said to me, "You're brilliant. You write so well. I've not seen an undergrad write this kind of abstracts before." Thank God for good mentors also. They kind of even see some things in you before you see them. So I went back and we worked together and we were able to publish a paper. So I was able to publish, and that was my first publication. And I feel like that was just how it happened. I knew that, okay, I can be a researcher, I can do research. And I started to apply to schools. I started to send cold emails to professors across schools in the United States. And there was a professor that took interest in me at Delaware, but she said I needed to write TOEFL. Now, for life sciences, you might not need to write GRE. So for the United States, there are two major exams, that's GRE and TOEFL. Now, GRE is usually for a lot of people that are in the engineering field, but even some life sciences field ask for GRE. But thankfully for me, the school was not asking for GRE from me, but they were asking for TOEFL. And to the time that they were going to like close applications and all, I had 3 weeks to study for TOEFL. And it was in that 3 weeks I studied for TOEFL. And I got 107 over 120. And that is considered very high. Like that's considered a very high score. So it took a lot of determination and speed from my side also. And I think that was what wowed the professor, because she knew that I had not been preparing for the exam before. Like so the first thing that made her take interest in me was that I had a publication. It's different from everyone. It's different for everyone. But for me, it was because I had a publication, and she felt like, oh, if I get the student in, we are going to write papers. Professors want papers, right? So now the second one I think was the TOEFL. She was really surprised, like, oh wow, that's a high score. So that was how I was able to get to Delaware. Now, on getting there, I must tell you the truth, because that time I was doing much more of molecular biology. From Nigeria, I had not used all of these complicated machineries. I had to do, I had to, what's it called? I had to extract DNA from tissues. I had never done that in Nigeria before. Now you need to use these kits. These kits are very expensive. They're in thousands of dollars. And your professor, you don't want to waste, because these professors, yes, they have money, but it's not like they buy a kit worth thousands of dollars and you waste it. They don't care if, I mean, they care, but I'm just saying that because you have not used it before does not mean you should waste it. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I had to be so humble enough to work with the postdoc in that lab. Definitely, they know we don't have some of this, they know you've probably not used it, So there's a balance. You need to be humble enough to learn, but you still don't have to always look like you don't know jack. You have to, when you want to go and help, even when you want to go and meet someone for help, you need to have done your part. You need to have done your own homework. So I used to read about these things. So you don't go there and you have like 1,000 questions for the person that you want to work with. So I'll read about it, I'll study about it, then go there. Oh, please, man, I'll go to YouTube. How do you use a qPCR machine? How do you extract DNA from blah blah blah? So for with this particular kits, because there are different kinds of kits. So yeah, that phase in Delaware was the stage of my career. I had not delved into bioinformatics fully that time. It was still molecular biology, using, doing qPCR, doing, what was this particular one? Doing gel electrophoresis, blah, 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 all those kind of things. And from there, when I got to Cornell, I think Cornell was, the transition to Cornell was tough, to be very honest. You know how you watch these American movies where you see a computer programmer typing on their system and it's like maybe they are trying to ask something and you feel like it's American. It's not American movies though. People code like that. I'm telling you. The first time I went to Cornell, when I went to the office, I was going to be staying with other graduate students. There was a particular lady. Funny enough, she's from Uganda. The way she was coding in R, I felt like Jesus. I'll
You didn't
probably
have,
not be able to. What do you say?
so you didn't have an excuse.
I'm telling you, I felt like would I be able to ever code like this? Because these people had gone far. She was like in her fourth year in her PhD already. She was doing so well. And you had different other people too. I was just like, oh my God. But I sat down and I learned. I learned every resource I could get. I'll start to learn and learn and learn. And funny enough, from then I had to learn R, I had to learn Python, I had to learn how to work in Linux environment. Because you get to stages in bioinformatics when you can no longer analyze data on your local system, no matter the computer you're using. I use a MacBook Pro, like the latest one, but it still cannot analyze some data. You need to use computer clusters. So you are going to connect your computer through the Linux. You are going to connect them to, they are called high performance computers, HPC. So that's another skill to learn. So you get connected to these clusters and you code and code and code and code and analyze data over and over again. So it took a lot, but you can always transition. As long as you have your mind to it, you put your mind to it and you're ready to put in the work, it can always happen. So yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, the journey is an interesting one. Like getting to, and it's I got something from what you said. The passion was always there for you to always push. You going back to school, meeting your supervisor, and going through the stress of learning everything, even when you got to Delaware. Was that where you did your masters?
Yes, I did the first part of my master's at Delaware State University. Then I did the second part of my master's at Cornell University. Then now I'm at the University of Illinois Chicago for my PhD. That's not very usual. In other 3 years, I've been to 3 schools in the US. But yeah, I believe that's just how God wanted it for me.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks so much, Tommy. I think we have one more question just before we
Okay,
go.
sure.
Um, if you don't mind, you could drop your LinkedIn while
Okay,
the
okay.
question.
Let me do that.
Okay, so Adejuwon says, I'm a bioinformatics enthusiast. I started with basic genomics and learned things sequence. John, would you rather do you mind do you mind unmuting? Because it's quite long. John, are you here? Can you hear me? Oh, okay, okay,
Oh,
okay.
you know what? Don't worry. Let me read this question.
All right.
That's fine. I'm a bioinformatics enthusiast. I started with basic genomics and learned things, sequence, quality control, de novo assembly, alignments. That's great. And variant calling. Normally, I'm supposed to pick up a project to consolidate what I've learned so far, but I've been struggling trying to piece together a project that's relevant. I don't know if you can drop pointers or a comprehensive guide to designing a project around bioinformatics, particularly genomics. This is a great question. Ah. Okay, so this is a solid question because even right now, let me see. Okay, no, this is a separate question. Even right now as a PhD student, what do you think we are learning how to do? We are learning how to design projects. We are learning how to design projects in bioinformatics, the genomic area, the omics era. So I feel like, I don't know, but I have a good answer for you. How you learn how to design projects is by reading literature. Go to Google Scholar. Let me give you the link to Google Scholar. So I think is it just googlescholar.com? Yeah, it's whatever it is, to be very honest. Okay, okay, this is it. So please go to this link and type in, if you have data. I'm talking to Mr. Adegbite Adejuwon. If you have data already, that will be good for you. You can always go to Google Scholar, read a ton of papers. It's gonna take time, but read papers, see how people design projects, see how they carry out projects from also reading papers. That's the only way to know how to do things, honestly. Because you can't also design a project that is completely off scale from what is in the literature already. So read papers, know your end goal. So number one, read papers. Number two, know the kind of question you're trying to answer. That would make you understand, the kind of the kind of yeah, projects around bioinformatics you're trying to do. Yeah, but that's a very good question. Thank you.
All right, Joan, I hope you got your answer. You can always follow Tommy on her LinkedIn page so you can further ask questions or clarification as well. So all right. Harun says, are you looking to continue in academia, or you're considering moving into the industry, jumping into academia, or transitioning into the industry? Which is best for a bioinformatician?
Anyone, both are good. Honestly, both are good. Like, so my PI that I work with, Joe. Joe is Joe is brilliant. I feel like he's one of the most brilliant people I've ever worked with. I've worked with very, very brilliant people. For example, Jean-Luc that I worked with at Cornell, that was my professor, he's one of the top 1% researchers in the world. Can you imagine that? One of
Oh,
the top 1% researchers in the world. But he's a professor. He's a professor. So it depends on where you think you fit in. For academia, know that you are going to be teaching. You are in the school environment, right? You're a professor, so you are going to take classes. It could be one class in a semester. It's usually one class in a semester. I don't think I've really seen professors that take two classes in a semester. But yeah, either one class, either two classes. You're going to be teaching undergrads and graduate students. You're going to have a lab. You're going to be dealing with a lot of students that want to learn from you. So yeah, it depends on what you want to do. And for professor also, a lot of people that we've spoken with, a lot of them will tell you that they did not want to work in a company because they did not want people to tell them what to do with their research, with their knowledge. So when you're a professor, you decide on what you want to do. You write for grants, you get money from the government, you do your research. You have students that do the research that it's in the scope of the lab. But when you are working in an industry, you work for the industry. For example, you want to work for a pharmaceutical company. The company is trying to produce or design a drug to meet a particular need in medicine, or you're working for a genealogy company or for a genetics company or materials company. You're going to be working for that company. And some companies you can publish papers when you're working in the company. For some, you can still publish papers. It really depends on what you want to do. But for me, I'm looking to work in the industry. So I have my reasons. I feel like I've been in academia for a while, as a student. I also feel like I love products. Okay. I love to see, I don't want to use the word, I don't want to use a particular word, but yeah, I just like to see products. I like to work in a company setting. So that's why I'm going for industry, to be honest. So for me, I'm going to industry. I have colleagues that are going into academia. It all depends on what you want to do and where you think you're going to fly, as much as you want. Yeah.
oh, nice, amazing, amazing. I think Harun has gotten the gist actually, because so it's been a wonderful time with you, Tommy. Honestly, I've actually learned a lot myself, and I'm very sure everyone who is in attendance at the moment has learned quite a lot about bioinformatics and how they can get their part into bioinformatics, the roadmap, and all that. And personally, knowing which part fits for is a best fit for them, learning the softwares, or because first of all, when I got to know about bioinformatics, I was like, okay, I know there are people who use the softwares, there are people who just want to create softwares or pipelines, like you mentioned earlier. Yeah, and yeah, I'm one of those people that I enjoy just using it. I don't want to go through the stress of racking my brain.
Yeah.
So just like you said, it's you just have to know what you prefer, what area do you function best, and then just stay there, do your thing, and be the
Right.
best you can be. And thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
John is laughing because he knows John is a stress, if permits me to use the word, stress freak. He loves logic, all that. So I'm sure that's what
Right.
he's like. So yeah, thank you so much for your time, Tommy.
Sure.
It's been a pleasure having you. I remember, guys, just send if this session has been wonderful, just send an emoji, send a message, just send something to show your excitement here. I remember when I saw um I came across Tommy on LinkedIn. It was from another webinar she had with another organization, and I was just listening. I was like, "Wow, we need to have." Funny enough, coincidentally, we were looking for a bioinformatician at the same time. We've had experts from different fields, but we just wanted a bioinformatician to speak to us about it. And
Wow.
do they say lines cross together or paths met or something like you know what I'm
Yeah.
yeah, so thank you so much for your time. If you have
You're
any other question, we have just this last question, guys. If we don't get any other question, we'll be going now. So Tommy can go back to work and do all her bioinformatics and everything. All right.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah, I mean, the last question can still come in, but I just want to. I'll probably not be able to mention everyone's name, but I can see all the attendees right now from the list of participants. So thank you for coming. Thank you. Okay, I think we have one question.
So Nelson says, how does bioinformatics integrate with other fields like genomics, proteomics, and systems biology?
So how it integrates with them is that, I feel like you almost can't even separate them anymore. Genomics, you yeah, like when you have a genome, when you have genome data or whole genome data, what are you going to do with it? You need mathematics to get what you're looking for. The reason why you even took the whole genome data in the first place. Mathematics is the one that will help you analyze that such a data. For proteomics, I've not done proteomics before, but it's all about the same thing: protein interactions, blah blah blah. You cannot analyze those things without mathematics. Now, systems biology, I feel like something's coming to mind for systems biology, but let me quickly check.
Is it synthetic
But
biology?
no, it said systems biology. So it says it's an approach in biomedical research to understand the larger picture at the level of the. Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is about knowing what is happening at a specific level, like as single as the cell or the tissue. So I think there is some people that have been working on, is this single cell RNA right now? Yeah. So it's all bioinformatics, to be honest. It doesn't just integrate, it's all in one pot. Like they are all together.
So I think to add something to that, I think Nelson, you now have to look at what area you you prefer, either the genomics, proteomics,
Mm,
or the systems biology. Which of them do you think you prefer? Or if you want to do everything, it's over to you.
no, that's very true. Because I had a professor that once taught me, he finished from Yale University. And this man has spent about 25 to 30 years just studying about genomics, just
Wow.
genomics, nothing more, just genomics. So yeah, I don't think you can do everything. Like if you even try to do everything, it just means you probably never be an expert at any one of them. Does that make sense?
Mm.
Yeah, so there are whole fields on their own: genomics, proteomics, systems biology. But yeah, bioinformatics kind of bring everything together in terms of analyzing this data and answering major scientific questions. But yeah, that's a good question. Thank you.
All right. I guess that's our last question for the day. Thank you so much, Tommy. Like I said, it's been amazing having you here. Speak to us all the way from US. Yeah. So, guys, please go on LinkedIn, follow, and connect with Tommy, and I'm sure you'll be having more notifications about the wonderful things the research is doing. And yeah, just network. Thank you, thank you, thank you, everyone. All right, that's all for today. I hope. Okay. Um, I think Nelson is trying to buttress on his points. Do you have
Okay,
more?
in the question. This is a good question, and I think this will be relevant to everybody. If you have a field that you want to work in, and you know you're trying to, when I see you say, but it seems the school is not offering it now, you know, you don't have to wait for a school to be offering something exactly called neurogenetics. For example, in my school, the department is called biological department, but we have people that are doing computational, we have people that are doing molecular cell and something genetics, we have people that are doing neurobiology. Now, for example, if you want to do neurogenetics, but you're in a department called neurobiology, you are going to do neurogenetics. I don't know if that makes sense. So don't be so fixated in trying to find a particular word, because most schools are not even, you might even check neurogenetics and probably Harvard does not have it or something, but they are going to have maybe a neurobiological department, or something called neuroscience. But when you get into the department and you're working with a professor, you're going to eventually be doing neurogenetics, if that makes sense, right? So as long as the school you're trying to go into does anything neuro, you probably eventually do this, depending on the professor you are working with. But yeah, that's a good question.
That's really true. Just to say something. So when I remember when I used to check some schools, in the States, US, and you notice most of them just write biological science. And then when you check, you're like, okay, let me just see biological
Yeah,
science. Let me see what they have. Then you start seeing things like genetics, start seeing all that, or you're like, oh, but you just
exactly.
target as biological science. So I think it calls for more search, more research, more personal research, and just try to find out more. Click on more links, and then just do more research. Yes, um, guys, it's already time, but okay.
Oh, that's fine.
Yes, last.
It's, yeah, building skills, building the skills. Because when you build the skills, now to eventually do a project in the nearest future would be easy. But if you're thinking about just the project and not developing the skills, it's like putting Z before A. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, do the first things first. So the first things, when I started my PhD, and I'll be trying to talk to my PI about, what we want to do, guess what he would say? Go and learn how to code. I was already coding. I already knew how to code. But what he meant was high level coding. Go and learn how to code. Go and learn how to code. So yeah, even for a PhD student, even as a PhD student, for my PI to just be telling me, just go and code. Every day, just be coding. Every day, just go and be coding. It just means that the skills are the most important aspect of it all.
Yeah.
Good question.
All right. Thank you so much. Okay, so guys, everything is there. We'll be sending out the link to our YouTube channel so you can go
Okay.
back, watch, and just go over everything and see where you'd want to focus on, especially when it comes to research and industry-wise, what you need to learn, skills, and all that. Yeah, and I'm sure we're going to do great. Wishing you all a wonderful weekend. Thank you again, Tommy. I can't thank you enough for your
You're
time.
welcome.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good one, everyone.